كلام في التصميم هو بودكاست من تقديم ليوان يستكشف مواضيع التصميم المعاصر في الشرق الأوسط وخارجه، ويربط أصوات المصممين المبدعين المحليين مع العالميين لتشجيع التعاون ومناقشة الأمور الإبداعية والثقافية والفكرية.
Talks on Design podcast by Liwan explores contemporary design themes across the Middle East and beyond. Featuring pioneering Qatari creators, the podcast connects local and global design voices and encourages collaboration and commentary on creative, cultural, and intellectual matters.
Hi, Mohamed. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And to our listeners, welcome to the Talks on Design podcast by Liwan. My name is Al-Shaima Ayoub, and I'm happy to be in conversation with Mohamed Benchellal. I do want to introduce you to the listeners through the questions we're asking. I feel like people already know who you are.
I hope so.
And hopefully they'll get to know you a lot more with the answers you give. So for the listeners who don't know who I am, I'm Al-Shaima Ayoub, and I had the pleasure of curating Mohamed Benchellal first solo exhibition. That was held at the National Museum. I'm a visual culture researcher at the National Museum and a curator of said exhibition. Mohamed, I want us to talk about resilience today, which is the theme of the second volume of El-Journal, and the different forms that it has taken throughout your journey in this notoriously difficult industry. And so I want to start by talking about identity and asking you about what it was like coming into the fashion industry in Europe as a Moroccan Dutch man and founding a label in 2015. You know, what was the industry like in the Netherlands when you were starting off, and what's it like now?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your question. Well, the first thing is, there are a few questions in this question. Where my resilience comes from, I think I have to go back to my childhood. Both of my grandparents, they immigrated in the late 60s from Morocco to the Netherlands. And then there was an opportunity to bring my parents. My parents came to the Netherlands on a very young age, and I myself was born there. And from a very young age, I've seen how hard, I wouldn't use the word struggle, but use the word of how hard they worked to fit in, to be part of society, coming from a different background, from a different culture. So I think it's been fed to me with a spoon that if you want to reach anything in life, you have to work very, very hard, and you have to be very resilient and grow a thick skin. And later in life, especially now, I feel that I get what they taught me, that everything is possible, like immigrating in a different time to a different country, not speaking the language, to starting a family where I am the result of, is quite impressive. And I'm very thankful to have that upbringing. It's very much a do-it-yourself mentality. And in some ways, I don't see it as a complaint, but in some ways I did felt that I had to run 10 times harder than other people. And I later in life, especially now, I see that as a blessing. I've always, for me, the sky is the limit, or actually beyond, and anything is possible when you put your mind to it and when you fight for it and run for it. And I think that's where the resilience comes from. When I started fashion, well, the thing is, a lot of boys my age, they were always playing soccer. And frankly, I hated soccer. What I wanted to do is create with my hands. And I've always been very creative as a little boy. And I remember very vividly, my mother used to have, all house moms back then had a sewing machine at home, you know, to fix any mistakes or any shreds or any broken clothes, or do your own curtains. So I was very interested by this machine that made quite some noise and could do things. So, and you know, back then it was very important, as I think all young people can relate to. When you're going to school, you have to present yourself in a certain way, or people present themselves in a certain way, have certain clothes on. It can empower you. So what I used to do is like literally sneaky take the sewing machine of my mother up to my room, and I would cut my clothes apart and re-sew them. And I was always fascinated how clothes were made. I was always fascinated, can I make it exactly as how it's made in the factory? Because in the end, it's made with a machine like that and with hands. And for me, that was kind of the first thing, if it comes to fashion, like the first touch or the first human experience I had. And so I wasn't really busy with the fashion industry or being part of fashion. I was just very young and very eager to try my skill set, try if my hands can do what other hands can do. And once you discover this passion, and once you discover that you're for yourself, this was, by the way, a very private thing. If I would cut my clothes up and put them back together and I would wear it to school, I would not tell a living soul that I made it, but I would get compliments. And I would even make things up, like I got it from there and there. Some even went to the shops to look for it, but obviously it wasn't available. But that was kind of a first idea or first feeling where I had my relationship to fashion or my relationship to clothes. But how to take that to the next level, I think that's the big journey. And eventually I did a fashion academy later on.
How was your family's response to that?
It was very secretive for me. So I didn't remember once that my mother caught me. She literally opened my bedroom because I was like literally locked in my bedroom, and she saw all the fabric on the floor and the scissors, and she thought, what in God's name is going on here? I'm like, no, I'm just being creative. But no, for me, it was very something for myself. But actually, if you really look on the deeper level, it's very common for in Morocco, maybe not for the children who are born in Europe from Moroccan parents, but it's very common that everybody has a sewing machine in Morocco at home, and very common to have your clothes made for you, or even you have a relative that makes clothes. And I remember that my grandparents, they had an in-house atelier. So back then, we're talking about the 80s, 90s, it was very common for people to take jobs on in their home, in their living room, or in the setting of their house. Call them like, people would come and deliver, for example, fabrics, and then they would sew. And so that was very from that generation. I don't think they would ever expect me or someone born there to be interested in working with textile, because it's just such a common folks thing to do. But I think they watched from afar and see what is going on, where is this gonna take him. But I've always had the support, but when it became serious, that was much later. So this was just more the experimental phase for me. And then I remember that I was growing up in a city close to Amsterdam, and I remember I had to choose a direction for school, and I signed up for like an interview at one of the fashion academies, but I didn't tell anyone, even not my parents. I just thought, let me go to the academy and let me see if I even would get in. And I got to this school, and the school was filled with these really high-tech machines. I thought I was in heaven. Even the iron, like everything was industrial. It was like playing with a little car toy, and then suddenly you're in the car factory. It's like a very, it was quite impressive.
Quite massively.
Yes. And the interview went very well. By all means, I was like hired, or how do you say it? I got into the school, and then I had to break the news to my parents.
What was that reaction like? I'm very curious.
They were very, very surprised that I did it on my own. I went there, took the train, did the interview, like not even, consulting or everything, but I've been always very independent. And I think that they felt probably we need to let him like run his thing. Like, this is a strange kid. We need to give him some space.
Strange dreams.
Well, it's out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Did they did they have in mind a particular kind of career?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, because maybe they didn't have a very specific career. They just wanted you to land on your both feet, you know, like have a good career, but what that could entail, because I didn't even know where it would take me. And it was, so I got in, I broke the news, and they were like, wow, okay, you go for it. And then my big adventure started, actually, like moving to the big city, like everything that comes along with being independent and doing everything different. I mean, like when I think back, I really have this very strong nomadic feeling, like I have to change my situation the whole time. And this was a big change, obviously. It came with, kind of left everything behind me. Like I got a lot of new friendships. I got my own apartment. So the big city life started, which was very, very inspiring for me as well. And to discover what this entails, like what is it? Am I going to be a fashion designer? I'm going to have a fashion company. But first things first, I thought, let me get into the school and see how they do it there, because I've been doing it always in my bedroom alone. And by my big surprise, I felt that every challenge was just so easy for me.
Easy? I thought you were going to say it was challenging.
No, because the school was very focused on manufacturing. How do you say it? On the craft itself. So it was very much like a couture education, how to make a blazer, how to make a skirt, pencil skirt, how to make all these.
So it was very fashion design.
Yes, like not even design, but also making it.
So also textile production and
like all of like literally like it was very practical, or how do you say it? It was less learning about fashion. It was really like, okay, cut the fabric, sew, like really like diving into the technique.
Okay, yeah.
And I felt that I had this home learning or homeschooling about it that I taught myself, and it was really good to implement that. And I saw, we started with a class of I think 30 students, and maybe 5 made it to the end. Like everyone was dropping off because people like.
How many years?
Because people think that this idea of being a fashion designer is taking a napkin and making a little sketch and then it will be made for you. But in retrospect, no, it's just, you have to really, it's putting in a lot of efforts. It's putting in a lot of, and it is tough.
Yeah. How many years was the education?
This was 5 years.
5 years, okay.
Yes, 5 years.
And only 5 made it to the end?
Only 5.
Goodness
yeah,
me.
they like literally screamed and ran away. They're like, no, I don't want to know how to sew a button. I will have somebody doing it for me. That was the most common thing people would say.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe they had
while I
creative
was
direction
making a
in
dress
their
filled with buttons.
Yeah. Maybe they had creative direction in their heads as opposed to, actual
No, I really
hands-on.
Yeah, no, I come from like the passion of making it. And that's not something repetitive. That's why I never make twice the same dress. But the passion and creativity and the excitement of making something, for me, that was when my heart was racing faster. So, but then I learned very quickly on school, there is no book that teaches you how to start a business or how to become even a fashionist. Like in school, it's all fine, but once you step outside, you're on your own. There isn't really like a way how to do it. And in a way, I find that also, like when I think back about it now, it's like everyone's story is different. There is not one way. You have to discover it yourself. And that journey is just so beautiful. But I didn't know where to start. All I did know was I was in school, and I think even in the 3rd year, I was very proud. I got my dress in my first publication, a magazine publication. And I was very happy. I think it was Elle magazine, or it was some of these titles. And I remember walking into the classroom with this publication and walking straight up to the teacher and be like, here you go, this is your copy. And it was quite unusual, you know, for not to having a brand to have a publication.
Yeah.
So I did feel that what I was making was attracting interest. And I think that's the validation. It starts with being a fashion designer. You want to get validated, or you want your dresses to be seen, or you want your dresses. I mean, you make them eventually for other people to like them, or to see them and to admire them. And that helps a lot in your journey to, I mean, yeah, I think it helps a lot.
So you graduated?
Yes.
And what was that like?
I didn't want to leave. Like, I still, till today, I have dreams that I'm back in that classroom sewing.
Yeah. To be fair, I also I did fashion communication, so it's a bit different, but I do still dream of the studio.
Yeah, I dream, like, I literally have so many dreams that I'm dreaming I'm back in that classroom and that I'm spending there already after 15 years. They're trying to kick me out, but I'm still there sewing. Like, it was just a really, really good base for me there, just to create and without thinking about anything else. But after that, after that, I took a whole journey because I felt I'm a very curious person, and I want to know everything, and I want to test everything, and I want to experiment, and I just feel that it's not that I wasn't ready, but I didn't think that, okay, it was very usual to do a graduation collection, do a graduation show, and then somehow make it. And I felt like, no. So I wanted to combine everything that I like into my passion for creating. And one of my big things that I liked back then and still do is traveling. So how can I combine my passion for creating, for designing, together with traveling? So I came up with this concept. It was a very, very huge 200 square meter dress. And it was a white dress. And I would collaborate with other artists worldwide. And I would travel along and we would project moving visuals on the dress. And this would be put on all kinds of events, from Formula One events to, like, it was insane. Like, I toured a lot in Asia, in Japan, in China, in the US, and all around in Russia. And I could combine my kind of fashion thing with this big installation. It was like more like an installation thing, and combine it with artists, because I wanted to collaborate. So every time we would have a different artist in it, from an opera singer to a modern dancer, in this dress that moved, and the visuals would be projected on it, and I could travel and develop this installation. And I did this for, I think, 3 to 4 years, and it was very successful. And then I felt I've seen pretty much not everything, but a lot. And I felt this is the moment to start a label, to do the design. Yeah, I feel like I've lived maybe 100 lives. Like, thinking back about it now, yeah.
Yeah. And what was the reception like when you established your label? What was the reception like in the
Well, I
Netherlands?
didn't know how to do it. I did know that it costs a lot of money, which I didn't have. So people underestimate, like, it costs, it is a huge investment. You need to buy the machine, you need to have a studio, you need to have material, you need to do the PR, there's just so many things. And I thought, you get almost suffocated. But I thought, you know what, it always starts with a collection. So let me just make a collection. But I had very little to no funds. And then I thought, you know what? I am just going to start a collection. I'm not going to go to the fabric stores. I'm just going to the markets where they have the leftover, the industry leftover, like the trash from the industry, which is it's like dead stock materials. Yeah. They would be sold there. And if nobody buys them there, then they will end up at a landfill and be destroyed. So, and I found some really good fabrics on these markets, very inexpensive. And I thought, you know what? It is easy to make a very simple dress from a very expensive silk, and then people, probably would like it because it's a very beautiful material. And I thought, why can't I change this very inexpensive material and make it look very expensive? This was my challenge. And I think that one of the first few collections, I got a lot of people praised it because it was. I was never busy with sustainability or the hero of the planet making because I didn't feel like I consumed or my brand participated in any destructive behavior because it was so small. It was one dress of each.
It was slow fashion.
Very slow fashion, and but yeah, it was back then. Nobody was talking about it even, and but the collections, they were made from dead stock materials, from the leftovers, and it started very slow. It was first dressing my female friends. Obviously, this is so recognizable, I think, for every designer. Can you dress me? Can you dress me? And then you start out doing that, and I think it's like a kind of a snowball effect. It becomes bigger and bigger, and from the very beginning I got a lot of, I mean, for the very beginning, a long time people didn't know what I was, or they didn't know about me, because it's quite a, it can also be a closed off industry or a scene, and I never felt that I belonged to any particular scene. I never really wanted to have an investor. I kind of really did it on my own. And when I think about it now, it's really trying to find your own voice. I mean, obviously you have your doubts and you have your insecurities, but really, I never wanted anyone to become between me and the passion for creating it. So even if the whole world hated it or the whole world didn't like it, no one could become between me and my sewing machine. Just, yeah, I mean, for me, that's always, that has been number one, the joy of making it. And then what comes after is after. It's an afterthought almost.
Okay, it's interesting you mentioned kind of doing things alone and doing things on your own. I want to speak about community.
Yes.
So in 2020, you won the Vogue Arabia Fashion Prize. That included your designs given a platform at Net-a-Porter. And then a year later, you won the Fashion Trust Arabia Prize for evening wear. And so I bring up Fashion Trust Arabia, or FTA, because it is a big part of your journey, especially considering it was at the National Museum that you accepted your prize for evening wear. And then you had a proper full circle moment a few years later with the opening of your first solo exhibition in the same location. So FTA to me, as someone who comes from fashion and with an identity similar to yours, is a sort of initiative that excites me. And the word that comes to mind when thinking about all of this is community. So can you talk to me about what FTA means to you and what community looks like in this industry post FTA?
Well, that's a very good question. I was always I was searching for validation from where I was born, meaning the West. So at times I think I did felt, or I can acknowledge that now and say truthfully that maybe I was a bit disconnected from the Arab world, from maybe the Arab culture. I had a very traditional, so to say, I had a Moroccan upbringing, but I was searching or seeking for validation in the West because I was born there. So having that feeling of being a bit disconnected with you know, being the Middle East, being so far away, or the MENA region in total. And then suddenly I was competing in these prizes here in this region. For me, that was quite something. I remember so well, I got on a plane and I was going to Doha from Amsterdam. And I think every 2 hours I was looking out of the window, like, where am I? Because it was so exciting and it was so far away and I didn't know what to expect. I think I've been really fed, because it was the first time I was coming to this region. I think I was very fed the idea of, you know, I don't know, 70s Baghdad, camels, the Syri homeland, in a weird way. And I almost have to laugh about it, because that's kind of the perception you know, when you live in the West, that's what you get.
It's quite like an Orientalist kind of
Yes,
perception.
like the flute and the camels
Yeah.
and the this and the that, you know, this the burning sun, like it's weird. And I came here and I thought when I got off the plane, oh my God, I've landed in, you know, the Guggenheim, like the whole city looks like a museum. I was so impressed. I was so in shock, and it's very futuristic, but it's also it has this Middle Eastern Arabic touch, which is done so perfectly and so beautifully. And I felt like, wow, this is my place. I belong here. This is very, very, very me. So I remember very well. I was sitting at the ceremony, and obviously we were all the designers. We were sitting on the table, and you know, one by one, the names were being called for the winners. All the finalists were sitting there, and I remember so well that I told myself, it doesn't matter what happens tonight, but I'm gonna make a collection based on this place. And because I felt really, really intensely inspired. And well, from the moment of getting the prize handed to me by Her Highness Sheikh Moza bin Nasser, to so much happened in between. So community is one word, but I feel like a part of my soul belongs here. Like I feel like it's a very long-lasting relationship I have with this country, with the culture, with the attention to art, with the open arms I've been welcomed with the opportunities that are possible here. I think it's a dream for every artist. And yeah, I'm getting quite emotional about it because a lot happened here, and I think it's very, yes, it's just amazing. Yeah. So, and then I do want to add one thing, because I do have to say, like, I've won a few prizes, and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, I'm very, very blessed with that. But winning a prize is one thing, but it really comes down to what you do after. It doesn't mean you just sit back and relax and, you know, things come your way. It doesn't work like that. I was very proactive. I initiated the idea to do a residency here in Liwan, where we are now, my second home. It almost hurts when I'm gone from here. It was very funny. I think that the director last time said, because the residency was finished, and she said, I think you have a severe case of post-residency syndrome. But I feel like I've always wanted to come back here and do things. But I think it's about, to get back to the story, about being proactive, about seeing opportunity, creating opportunity. And you know, my mother always used to say, closed mouths are never being fed. So I was very upfront about it. And I initiated the idea, and it was approved. So during a period of almost 2 years, going back and forth and creating a collection here from scratch, inspired by all the landmarks and the architecture and the culture and the meetings and the people that I've met, to literally having my first solo exhibition at that very same place where I received the prize, which is almost, sounds like a, I'm sorry to say, it sounds like a kind of a flying carpet I went over.
I just said dream.
That is very, very, yes, I'm very proud of that. And it does feel that there's a place for everyone, and I think I found my place. And it doesn't mean that I will always be traveling, I will always be doing a lot of things, but that has a very special place in my heart.
You found a home in Doha the same way a lot of creatives have found a home here in Doha. It is very inspiring, and there is a lot of amazing things happening here. So I think it will resonate with a lot of people, as it does with me. Mohamed, you're known for your sculptural silhouettes, working with opposites and dressing women in a particular way. There is a visual language associated with Benchellal. And of course, also skillful craftsmanship. But there's also a resourcefulness that we just spoke about briefly, associated with your craft and particularly with your use of dead stock material. One great example is, of course, the beautiful sculptures that were shown on display in the exhibition. And so the word sustainability is a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot. And so I wanted to ask you, do you now label yourself as a sustainable designer, or even associate yourself with that camp?
I don't label myself at all. I mean, I understand that people want to put you in a certain box, but I mean, I think last year I don't even want to be called the fashion designer. I feel like I really see myself as an artist, absolutely, but I am not here to destroy the world, but I think the sustainable designer, it's just a marketing term to sell your clothes. Let's be really honest. I don't feel, I mean, I make everything myself. There is no Benchellal dress that hasn't been through my hands. And from every design, there is only one. So I can't think of a more sustainable practice than that. I strongly believe that when it becomes, for me, money is never the goal. For me, money is a tool to do what I do, to design. So when money becomes the goal, it becomes unsustainable. There is no two ways. It's one or the other. And for me, that's very, very clear. And I feel very, very honored. A lot of my dresses are now in museum collections. And I can't think of a more sustainable way. I mean, 200-300 years from now, they can still be exhibited. Like, for a very long time ago, I understood that I don't need to dress the whole entire world. On the contrary, I mean, even if I dress 0.1, then that's already amazing. So it's very. I'm a very small operation, very small, but it has a very big reach, and this is exactly what I want. I want to inspire people, and I don't see my clients as wallets.
This actually leads perfectly to what I wanted us to speak about next, which was non-conforming in the industry, and particularly in relation to showcasing your work. You don't do Fashion Week, runway, or presentations, which to me is really interesting, and I think it'll be interesting for the young designers who are listening to hear more about that. Can you talk to me a bit more about that and your decision to not showcase the classic way? Is it a practical one, a creative one? I know you mentioned you're a small operation, but can you talk to us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of designers can agree on that. Fashion show, it is nice, it is an event. I mean, you can see your clothes, but 9 out of 10 times it's more about who's sitting on the front row than the collection. There's hardly attention for the collection because the clothes, they run by in a split nanosecond. And in the end, everyone is, talking or writing about it based on video or photo. So why this whole circus? I really love to strip everything down, to have it very pure. That's why I really love a presentation in the form of a museum exhibition, because you can just admire the work without the noise. And I see that also in my work. When I design, I don't work with, embellishments or embroideries or feathers or pearls or all the distractions. I really like a very pure way, and I think it fits my world to present it in a very pure way. And I can't imagine a more pure way than a museum exhibition styled presentation. And in the end, it reaches also more people. And I love to strip everything away. I love to have it very pure, and people can admire for what it is. And it's very personal. I feel like it really fits to what I stand for. For me, it should always, number one, comes to design. Not even the story, not even if it's sustainable or not, or if it's from this region or not, it just should stand on itself. It's a statue, it's a sculpture. And that's why I do it. I love to create. And I can't say that more enough. It's my passion to do it. And then once I feel like it's ready to show to other people, then you strip it away. I love a white cube.
I wanted to touch upon runway and fashion shows because it can play a role, arguably, when done right, in world building, for a designer. And so
but wait, sorry, I want to add, it doesn't mean that I would never do a fashion show.
Okay.
Because I do want to add that since this journey is a journey, and a journey is only for you. Yesterday I liked the color blue, today I like the color red, so everything could change. So I don't want to...
It's not fixed.
No, I think nothing should be fixed. If it's fixed, it has an expiration date.
I wanted to speak a bit about world building, and especially about the Benchellal universe, retrofuturism and all these references. To offer the listeners some context, while working on your exhibition, we spoke a lot about the world and the universe of Benchellal, or even planet, and I use these terms interchangeably. And what that is and what that means. At one point, the term Planet Benchellal was mentioned, and I think that's a term that stayed in the back of my head, at least. And so, can you describe to us what this world, universe, or planet is?
That's a good question, because I think it starts with the process when I create. So, for example, I never sketch. I've always felt I'm a terrible sketcher. Person always looks handicapped, or with all respect in my sketches. It's just very Picasso when I sketch. So sketching doesn't work for me at all. So for me, when I create, I start with draping. So I drape directly on the body, directly on the mannequin, and it goes somewhere. And I feel like even if I try very, very hard to design a t-shirt, it always goes to Planet Benchellal. It will end up with a train, with a very puffy sleeve. So my reference to Planet Benchellal is something that is very hard for me to describe, but I think it has a few elements. It's very voluminous, but it's very precise. It's very feminine, but it's also very strong. It's very lavish, but yet very monochrome. So it's all these complementary opposites. And I think that is Planet Benchellal. It's really, when I design and create, it transports myself to this planet. And 9 out of 10 times, I don't know what's happening, but my hands just do the work. And I'm also a person that talks to himself a lot when I create. I think if you would record me, I would totally be accepted in a madhouse. I love talking to myself, talking to the designs, and that's why I feel like I'm in my own planet when I design. And that is a very, very nice place to be, because it's not restricted with sketches, with mood boards, with preconceived ideas. I feel if you have an idea and it has to be that, then you're blocking your creativity. And I feel that in a way, I don't have to do that much effort. I just need to just let your hands do the magic and be able and dare to go to your wildest imagination. And in my case, that is my Planet Benchellal.
So while we're on the topic of Planet Benchellal, an important element I want us to touch upon, and it's something that we both love, and for me personally helped me understand you a bit more, and that's music. Music is resilience and is resistance. In our initial conversations working on the exhibition, you would tell me about playing Kulthum in your atelier in Amsterdam while you worked into the night. You also brought up Ryoji Ikeda, the Japanese visual and sound artist, as a reference. And obviously in your exhibition, we had the incredible sounds of Sonic G playing as a soundscape. Massive shout out to the big bros, Simone and Michael, the duo behind Sonic G, and also the collaborators whose tracks off of the album Zikrit that were used, Joshua Sara, John and Naima. So talk to me about the role of music in your work and the role of sound in general.
Well, it's as I explained before, it's kind of a trance when I design. So I think music plays an element to that. It is also, it's a place where I'm always alone when I design. I do everything myself. As you know, I'm a one-man show. I cut fabric myself, I sew it myself, I source it myself. So when I'm in my studio, a lot of times I don't have the feeling I'm with myself. I have the feeling I'm with 10 Benchellals. They're all fighting. But I think the music is kind of a constant factor, which is very nice to have. And yes, it's an element. It's creating a vibe. I think it's very strong. Yeah, you have to create a certain vibe. And I love the complementary opposites. To play Riochi Keita when I'm in Doha and to play Kultum when I'm in Amsterdam. Yeah.
There was Kultum playing when I actually came to visit you in your atelier here, I remember.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, and this is general, not, doesn't matter if it's not Kultum, but do you have a favorite song that you always turn to?
I mean, they're classics. I mean, I remember that when I was very young, I opened a drawer of my father and there was a vinyl of Kultum. And I mean, back then you're not interested in Arab music that much, but it's a classic. It's like all of these kind of hints and elements were already happening when I was very young. I remember when I was somewhere in my 20s, I saw the documentary about IMP, and I was very fascinated. And I really forgot about this idea at all. It just came to me recently during Qatar Creates when I was at the exhibition of IMP, and I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing to see these, I don't want to say it coincidences, but it's like throughout your life, you're getting these little hints and then magically they happen. And
it all makes sense later on.
It all makes sense. And that is what I feel with everything, it makes sense. The harder you fight, against something, you just need to let it flow. I mean, it all comes down. I think it comes down also to my name, Benchellal. My name Benchellal means son of the waterfall. It's my family name, and I really have come to see life as a waterfall. When the water's falling down from the mountain, it can go in any direction, and all the turbulent rivers out into the very silent lake, and I see my life like that.
So you're very go with the flow.
Go with the flow, yeah.
Even if it's turbulent.
Sorry?
Even if it's turbulent.
If I have to be very honest, I don't believe in a balanced life. For me personally, I feel my life is a roller coaster, and I've kind of embraced that. It's maybe it's an adrenaline that you get used to it. So yeah, I'm not so much the honeys and the bees and the flowers and the trees, more the volcano eruptions and the waterfalls. But it's not always like that. I mean, sometimes I do have to put a stop to get some rest and to rethink things. But I love. There's one flaw. I think my biggest flaw is probably that I'm very, very impatient. I want everything to happen. And sometimes it's to learn to not push too hard. But it's also a desire. I mean, I feel when you really, really want something, then there's nothing stopping you. And it got me where I am right now. So, yeah. But music, I think music is probably the only constant factor that's, when you play something, and it can even be repetitive. It's like a calming factor when you're dealing with all your demons and angels.
And angels. I guess to slowly wrap things up, I want to ask you about the future and what's next for Mohamed Benchellal, for Benchellal, Planet Benchellal?
Well, it's a question I get a lot from interviewers. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And my answer is, I don't know where I'm tomorrow. The thing is, you have dreams and desires, and most of what I ever dreamed of, I'm doing. I feel like I am living the dream. And obviously, there's things that can improve, or new things that you want to try. I feel now I'm on a new adventure. So I feel what I've done in Doha, coming here, getting inspired by the landscape and architecture, create a collection, shoot a collection, do an exhibition. That's full circle. I'm experimenting doing that elsewhere. So I've recently been to Hong Kong, where I did a similar thing. And I've just spent almost 3 months in Uzbekistan, and I'm working now on the exhibition there with the same kind of feeling, like going there, being inspired by the landscape and architecture, meeting new people, being there alone, creating a collection from scratch, sourcing materials. I love this adventure. And for me, that is, inshallah, one day I will have all 7 continents done. Inshallah. I feel like I'm the Mohamed Polo.
You know what? It's really impressive, because you did mention at the beginning, the very first few times that we actually spoke, that you didn't want to be classified as just a designer, and that you did want to kind of branch into the art and museum world, and you're living it now. It's not just Benchellal Monumental, it's an exhibition in Hong Kong, it's, you're back in Doha with the FTA exhibition, and it's multiplying.
Yeah. I think it's really, I've never planned it like this, and there it comes also to winning a prize, that you create opportunities, what we spoke about before. And I do feel that there's a place for everyone in the world, but I really had to rethink or create my own place. And I don't want to say I'm not fashion. I mean, for a person to understand, yes, it is fashion, it is clothing in the end. But there's just so many ways you could approach it. So I don't mind if people classify me as a fashion designer. I just don't think in that box for myself. And I think that is...
You don't want to pigeonhole yourself. And you sit at an intersection. Yeah. Fashion, art.
Yeah. Culture. What's next? No.
Is there anything you want to add? I mean, this is quite dangerous, but the floor is yours, Mohamed.
What did you say?
The floor is yours. Is there anything else you want to add? I mean, I would say think of all of the young designers, regardless of the discipline, that are listening to this. I think your journey is really inspiring. And I think they can really take a lot from you and learn.
Well, I mean, it is quite a thing that everyone says, like, believe in yourself or do your own thing. But it's very hard, and I agree. But I just want everyone to understand there was years and years and years that nobody looked at me, nobody gave me any attention, nobody, and you have all these. What would you call it? So-called professionals in fashion. If you would have to listen, if I were to listen to their comments and their advice, wow, I don't even want to know where I would be then. So it doesn't happen overnight. I just feel if you have a passion for designing, and that is really what you want to do, right? I can maybe phrase it different. Would you design if no one would ever buy something from you? That answer is yes, then I think you're in the right way. If that answer is no, then I don't know if that is a career you need to pursue, because even if no one would ever buy, and for me, it's like breathing. I have to design. I think I physically will get ill if I don't touch fabric and be busy with it. So I feel that's a very good question, very personal question that everybody has to ask for themselves. And of course, it's being resilient, never giving up. But in the end, if it makes you very happy, even designing, I don't know, knitting a sock, if that gives you joy, then that's already a lot.
Mohamed Benchellal, thank you. It's been
Thank
great.
you, Shaima.
Thanks.
Let's work on the next collection, our next exhibition. Thank
We're
you.
working on a catalogue, so yeah. TBC.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you all for listening.